The last time Rosa heard her husband's voice, he sounded tired but hopeful. "I'm near. I'm close, my love." Javier had been traveling for weeks, crossing mountains, rivers, and deserts with nothing but the clothes on his back and the dream of reuniting with his family in America. Rosa had begged him not to go, but he refused to listen. "Just one more stretch," he had assured her. Then the call dropped, and Javier was never heard from again. Rosa's world collapsed in an instant. She called his phone over and over. No answer. Days turned to weeks, weeks to months. Hope faded, replaced by fear. Her husband was gone, swallowed by the border, leaving her with nothing but questions. Javier was not the first to disappear, and he wouldn't be the last. This is the untold tragedy of those who never made it, and the families left behind, trapped in a nightmare with no answers. Javier Hernandez was not a criminal. He was a father, a husband, a man trying to give his family a better life. Living in a small town in Honduras, work was scarce, and danger was everywhere. Gangs demanded protection money, and those who refused paid with their lives. When the threats against his family became too real, Javier made the impossible decision to leave everything behind and cross into the United States. Rosa begged him to reconsider. "We can find another way," she whispered, tears streaming down her face. But Javier knew there was no other way. With nothing but a backpack and borrowed money to pay a coyote, he kissed his wife and children one last time and boarded the train known as La Bestia, the death train that carried desperate migrants north. His plan was simple: cross the Rio Grande, find work in Texas, and send for his family once he had saved enough. It was risky, but for men like Javier, risk was better than watching his children starve. What he didn't know was that the border held dangers far greater than hunger. The first few weeks were brutal. The journey took everything from him: his strength, his dignity, and nearly his life. But Javier was strong. He pushed forward. The night before his disappearance, he sent Rosa a voice message. "My love, I'm almost there. The coyote says we just have to cross the desert. I'll call you when I make it." That call never came. Rosa called his phone again and again. At first, it rang. Then, nothing. Panic set in. She called relatives in Texas, hoping he had made it. No one had heard from him. Days passed. Then a week. Then two. Javier had vanished. His family searched for answers, reaching out to migrant shelters, border patrol offices, even hospitals. Nothing. And Rosa wasn't alone. Every year, thousands of immigrants disappear at the border. Some are arrested, others are kidnapped by cartels, and many, too many, die in the desert, their bodies never recovered. Javier had joined the ranks of the missing, and Rosa was left behind, trapped in the agony of not knowing. The Arizona desert is a graveyard. Since the early 2000s, more than 8,000 human remains have been found along the U.S. Mexico border. But that's only the ones they've found. The heat, the predators, the endless miles of nothingness. All of it swallows bodies whole. Some are discovered years later, reduced to bones. Others are never found at all. Rosa feared this was Javier's fate, but she refused to accept it. She contacted organizations that search for missing migrants, desperate for answers. Days turned into months. Then, finally, a lead. A group of migrants reported seeing a man matching Javier's description. "He was with us at first," one survivor recalled. "But after a few days, he got too weak. The coyote left him behind." Rosa's heart shattered. The desert had taken him. She just didn't know where. The truth is, coyotes don't care about the people they smuggle. They promise safety, but the moment a migrant becomes a burden, they are abandoned. Javier wasn't the first man left behind. He likely collapsed under the blistering sun, too weak to move, too dehydrated to fight. And once the group moved on, he was alone, truly alone. Maybe he walked for hours, hoping to find help. Maybe he sat under a dying tree, whispering his children's names. Maybe he looked at his phone one last time, wishing he had the strength to send a final message. No one would ever know, because the desert never tells its secrets. Months later, a rancher in Arizona made a grim discovery: a tattered backpack, half buried in the sand. Inside, a water bottle, a rosary, and a phone with no battery. The authorities found skeletal remains nearby. No ID. No way to be certain. Rosa sent Javier's dental records. The agonizing wait began. Weeks later, the confirmation arrived. It was him. The desert had taken her husband, and now, all she had left of him was a pile of bones. Javier's story is not unique. He is one of thousands, fathers, mothers, children, who vanish every year, leaving behind families who never get closure. The news doesn't talk about them. Their names are not in the headlines, but their families remember. Rosa buried what was left of her husband, but the wound never healed. She still wakes up at night, expecting a call that will never come. She still whispers his name into the void, hoping he can hear her. And she still wonders, every single day, what if he had made it? For every migrant who reaches the United States, countless others are left behind. The desert is littered with their bones. Their families are haunted by their absence. No one searches for them. No one mourns them, except the ones who loved them. But their stories deserve to be told. Their lives mattered, and their tragedy is far from over. Because even today, as you watch this video, another mother is waiting by the phone. Another father is crossing into the unknown. And another family will soon join the countless others, searching for a loved one who will never return. This is the dark truth of immigration. This is Dark Passages, the Border Crime Files.